Many people won't really know much about Bangladesh considering that it is a pretty small country. However, it's one of the largest populated countries in the entire world, with Dhaka being its #1 biggest city. The majority of the population of Bangladesh is Muslim, with Hindus coming in second. Due to its geography, it's also called the land of rivers. Along with that, it's also connected to two major river systems in Southeast Asia, the Brahmaputra and the Ganges. The most fascinating thing that I learned about in my trip to Bangladesh is what I would consider a pretty rich history, going all the way back when it used to be a part of India under the rules of the British Empire, then breaking off in 1947 and becoming Pakistan, and later becoming its own country. So let's talk about the history of how Bangladesh became an independent country, because the history of Bangladesh was a pretty inspirational one. Along with the fact that the country having one of the fastest growing economies in the world, I definitely feel like this is something worth talking about. August 15th, 1947, the British Empire has left India. Due to worries about religious quarrels, India and Pakistan split. India was a Hindu majority country while Pakistan was a Muslim majority country. At the time, Pakistan would have Bangladesh, and they would call it East Pakistan. India, on the other hand, hasn't really changed much of its geography. In 1948, Muhammad Jana, Pakistan's governor/general, declared that Urdu and only Urdu will be the state's official language. Considering that most people in East Pakistan couldn't speak Urdu, this was unacceptable. This created a language movement in Bangladesh. However, in February 20, 1952, the Pakistan government issued the Section 144 restricting gatherings and rallies. So any form of public gathering exceeding 4 people or more were prohibited. This would backfire because on the very next day of February 21st, a group of Bangladeshi students would defy said rule. Later, when the police got involved, they killed 4 of those students and 1 other person, and many of them were injured. These students would go on to become martyrs of the language movement. The language barrier wasn't the only problem that the people of East Pakistan was facing. Many of East Pakistan's wealth went to West Pakistan. West Pakistan was getting more income than East Pakistan. The income gap kept growing and growing till the 1970s. Along with that, between the years of 1947 and 1958, the number of primary schools in West Pakistan rose by 173%. And for East Pakistan, it was only 38%, which allowed West Pakistan to be more educated. So naturally, this would call for a political revolution for East Pakistan. You see, East Pakistan always voted for a secular leftist government called the Awami League. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. However, whenever an Eastern Pakistani representative became prime minister, they were dismantled as soon as possible by the Western Pakistani government. This strategy was so effective that one of the prime ministers was only able to stay in office for only 13 days, making it impossible for there to be a political revolution. There was also a coup in 1958, which repressed the people of East Pakistan even more. In that year, the president at the time was hearing many notions of how East Pakistan politicians wanted more say in running the central government, which in turn increased attention because he was starting to lose supporters. Despite all these issues going on with the central government of West Pakistan, this, however, was not the thing that broke the camel's back.
More pictures from the ravaged areas of East Pakistan. Pictures which bring home to us all the extent of this overwhelming tragedy. The wonder is that anything survived a flood of such biblical proportions.
Just a quick warning before I continue, there's going to be a lot of graphical imagery that you're going to see from this part of the video. The Bola cyclone was one of the most dangerous cyclones in all of history. With a death toll of 300,000 to 500 million, this remains as the deadliest cyclone ever recorded. The centralized government of Pakistan were highly criticized by the public in East Pakistan, considering that first of all, they haven't even sent too many assets, and many of the assets that the citizens could have used were taken away. 3 Pakistani gunboats, a hospital ship carrying medical personnel and supplies left Chittagong and went somewhere else. In fact, the only thing that they did give was 1 military transport aircraft and 3 crop dusting aircrafts. India became the first nation to offer aid to East Pakistan. They made a pledge by the end of November that they would be sending $1.3 million to help assist for the relief effort. However, Pakistan's central government refused to allow the Indians to send supplies through air, so they were forced to take transportation by road, which would have been even slower. Keep in mind, this land just suffered a natural disaster. These people, one way or another, need to get their supplies as soon as possible. The British, as they would be, were also there to help. Unfortunately, there were reports which came out which stated that they couldn't distribute any aid until they were given the proper authority to by the Pakistani government.
They've already been here 2 days. They must wait for a Pakistani officer to arrive before they can take any action. And even the exact nature of the action required is somehow obscure. They've got the boats, they've got the relief supplies, but they still can't move.
It took us 5 days to get down here, literally carrying the craft most of the way. And since we got here, we've done nothing but sit on the backsides. We haven't done a stroke. Done nothing at all. Everybody's willing to work, and if they had some work to do, I think everybody would be a lot happier. Everybody's just sick of sitting around doing nothing.
Despite all this, UK and India were able to send more aid to East Pakistan than West Pakistan ever did. However, this would be the beginning of a lot of conflicts yet to come. Pakistan's general election held in 1970 was between Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who would later be known as the father of Bangladesh, and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. Rahman's 6-point movement ideals were to give greater autonomy for East Pakistan and to end the exploitation of East Pakistan created by the Western Pakistani rulers. Ali Bhutto, on the other hand, was a foreign minister under President Ayub Khan, who resigned from office after serving as the second president of Pakistan for 11 years in 1969. Despite Rahman winning in a landslide, there was a lot of political complications that prevented him from taking office. President Yahya Khan, the third president of Pakistan, and the Pakistan People's Party did not want East Pakistan to have a majority government. In turn, this caused a great unrest in East Pakistan. West Pakistan would respond with a military genocidal campaign called Operation Searchlight. From March 1971 to May 1971, the Pakistani military was sent out to take back control of the major cities in East Pakistan. And whether they be politicians or soldiers fighting in war, all oppositions were told to be eliminated. The operation was also the direct cause of the 1971 Bangladesh genocide. In this operation, 300 to 300 million Bengalis were killed, and around 10 million fled to neighboring countries of India as refugees. Many Bengalis' lives were in danger. Whether they be intelligentsia, academics, and Hindus or Muslims, they were all targeted. While this was happening, there was a war that was going on to fight for Bangladesh's independence against Pakistan. As more Bangladeshis were being slaughtered in Operation Searchlight, the more the resistance for Bangladesh grew. Civilian casualties were not the only things that were going on. There was reports of a mass rape happening which reported that 200,000 women were raped throughout the 9 months. Going off topic here, I think these numbers are a bit too exaggerated. Considering this war lasted for 9 months, I don't believe that there were 3 million civilian casualties, nor do I believe 200,000 women were raped by Pakistani soldiers. Now, I can definitely say there definitely were mass executions that could have killed hundreds of thousands of people, and there were women that were definitely raped, but not to this extent. As for India, they were in the middle of a refugee crisis due to many Bengalis who have fled from their motherland. On December 3rd, 1971, the Pakistani Air Force launched a preemptive strike on Indian Air Force bases. With India's involvement, the liberation of Bangladesh has been ensured. And so, with Pakistan surrendering in December 16, 1971, East Pakistan has officially become Bangladesh. With everything that happened in this war, I'm not sure if some of the things that they claimed were completely accurate. because numbers like 3 million civilian casualties, 200 to 400,000 women raped may have been a bit exaggerated to create propaganda to get more troops to join the freedom fighters of Bangladesh. Of course, this does not excuse any of the atrocities that Pakistan has committed. The way that they were attacking Hindus and justifying their actions by saying that they were destroying the culture of Bangladesh, killing Bengali intellectuals because some of them happen to be very vocal about supporting Bangladesh independence, forcing people to speak a language that they couldn't speak, along with other labor exploitations. This war can definitely be justified. Thank you everyone for watching. I took a trip to Bangladesh for a month this summer, and I had a lot of fun. I visited my family members, and surprise, surprise, I got married. There's going to be a lot of changes in this channel. For one, I'm going to talk a lot more about political subjects that I'm interested in. I'm not going to talk too much about current news that are happening in America, unless it's a major tragedy that's happening around the world. So yeah, that's the final thing.